Hey, gentlemen. So today I want to share a little bit about anger and creating space for expressing healthy anger. I get a sense that today in our society, it's often viewed through this lens of toxic masculinity and male aggression. And whereas I do understand that some of that plays out, I feel like there's not enough sort of being done to support men and teach them ways to build a relationship with their anger and to express their anger in a healthy way. And recently I was reading a book by Robert Augustus Masters called To Be a Man. And in the book, he gives all these different examples and kind of ways that we can work with our anger and express our anger in healthy ways. And he really distinguishes the difference between anger and aggression, talking about aggression as this emotionally hardened piece that kind of almost dehumanizing of another person or of yourself. And anger is just being this really vulnerable, to whatever degree in this heart space, still bringing this passion of the anger that might be felt, but in a compassionate way. And I think once we get past the conditioning that I sometimes see in society that anger is not okay, I think it's a big step into then being able to start to build that relationship and talk about it more openly and understand how can we express that in a supportive way. And for me, personally, a tendency that I have around anger is to suppress anger. So just from my conditioning from childhood has led me to now in adulthood these subconscious patterns and thoughts that it's not okay to express my anger, so I need to like suppress it down. And it's ultimately not very supportive for me. Generally what happens is it builds up and then it ends up coming out sideways, usually at an inopportune moment, which doesn't support any of my friendships or relationships. One example that I had recently, last week, a friend of mine, there was some food in the fridge, and he had used some of my ingredients to make the food. There were some leftovers, and I was going to have some, and in this kind of internal sense was like, oh, I should ask him before I do that. And I overrode that thought and went to eat it anyway. And when he found out, he was really frustrated and annoyed with me. He let me hear about it. And I was super frustrated. I was annoyed and angry at him, so I thought anyway, that he had used my ingredients, this whole story I had, right? And so sort of in my repression, I repressed it. I didn't really say anything. I went into another room, sort of an avoidant tendency, and I was going to start ruminating on it, and then I got to sit with it. So one practice I have, as uncomfortable as it is to try to sit with this feeling or this anger and see what it's telling me. And so I noticed this tense feeling in my chest. I was breathing faster. I noticed my blood kind of moving, boiling. And that was a signal for me that, there's something there, right? There's some anger. And so as I sat with it more, it was really interesting because I got to find out that I wasn't even really upset at him at all. I was more angry with myself for having overrode this intuition that I had to ask him. And so I got to sit with that frustration. And once I kind of had that insight, then I was able to go talk and communicate with him and express sort of the anger I felt and that passionate sense I had about being frustrated in the situation. But it came from a place of really like ownership of my own self and what was happening for me. And because it wasn't just kind of blaming him and dehumanizing him and being frustrated at him, he was really able to see me in that and sort of help me through it, which was really supportive and a huge growth step for me. So that's just one example, kind of how it shows up for me and how I work through it. And this Sunday, we're going to be digging into more of it. We're going to have some experiential exercises. We'll give some more support and tools of how you can build a healthy relationship with your anger. So really hope to see you there.